Russian President Vladimir Putin has announced an unexpected and brief unilateral Easter truce in Russia's conflict on Ukraine, while Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy insists that Russian artillery fire are ongoing. Here's more.
Russia's President Vladimir Putin announced a unilateral Easter ceasefire on Saturday. He ordered his military to halt all battlefield action for 30 hours from 1500 GMT on Saturday until the end of Sunday.
Based on the humanitarian considerations, today starting from 1500 GMT to midnight Monday, the Russian side announces an Easter ceasefire. I order a stop to all military activities for this period. We assume that Ukrainian side will follow our example. However, our troops should be ready to repel possible ceasefire violations and provocations by the enemy. Our decision regarding the Easter ceasefire will show how sincere is the readiness of Kyiv regime, its desire and ability to comply with the agreements and participate in peaceful negotiations directed at eliminating the root cause of the Ukraine crisis.
The announcement came during a meeting with Russia's chief of the general staff, where Putin outlined the terms of the truce. Putin also issued a warning, stating that Russian troops should remain prepared to respond if Ukraine violates the ceasefire. However, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy accused Russian President Putin for already breaching the Easter truce. In a post on X, Zelenskyy said that fighting continued in Russia's Kursk and Belgorod regions and Russian drones were still in use, but added that some areas had become quieter. He reiterated his support for longer truce, saying that 30 hours is enough to make headlines, but not for genuine confidence-building measures. Meanwhile, Ukraine and Russia conducted their largest prisoner exchange since the conflict began over 3 years ago. 277 Ukrainian service personnel returned home from Russian captivity on Saturday, taking the total number of returned prisoners of war to 4,552. While Moscow's defense ministry said that 246 servicemen had been handed over by Kyiv, it said a further 31 injured prisoners of war had been handed over to Ukraine and 15 of its own wounded servicemen had also been returned by Kyiv. Putin's unilateral move followed Trump's announcement that it could abandon peace talks within days unless Moscow and Kyiv showed they were serious about negotiating. Bureau Report, DD India.
And now to discuss more on this, I am joined by DD India correspondent Shubhendu Ghosh. Good morning, Shubhendu. Now, Vladimir Putin has declared a temporary ceasefire on the occasion of Easter. For how long this ceasefire has come into force, and what is its current significance considering the global eyeballs that are hooked on to the current ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine? Shubhendu.
Right, Deepika, good morning. Yes, Saturday evening India time, this update came in. Quite a surprising one when Russian President Vladimir Putin declared unilateral from his own side. He declared that there's going to be a ceasefire for a period of which is listed about 30 hours from Saturday afternoon Russia time to the end of Easter, which is today, to Sunday night. This ceasefire will be stretched to. It is an important one, although the period is short, but it has many symbolic significance. First, it's Easter. Most of the European, Russian, Ukrainian population are Christian. It's a solemn moment. It's the resurrection of the Lord Jesus Christ. So in that sense, it's an important religious moment for the peoples of Russia and Ukraine, who've had 3 years of really stretched, long and exhausting conflict that has been going on. Several attempts at ceasefire have failed. Even the direct intervention in peace talks led by United States hasn't really shown much results. It still is in the realm of parallel conversations. We know that US President Trump-led talks that are taking place, led by Witkoff, of course, his envoy. Russia has put tough conditions to agree to the ceasefire. Ukraine, for a change, had agreed to a 30-day immediate ceasefire, but it wasn't really reverberated. It wasn't echoed in the same manner by the Russian president. So in that sense, those talks continue. Both sides are looking for an opportunity for a ceasefire, but they also see this as an opportunity to have some sort of a decisive end to the conflict. A sudden end to the conflict is going to be leaving both sides yearning for more. Ukraine, for example, still harbors aspirations for a NATO membership. Russia, on the other side, has put in clear demands that one, Ukraine can never be a NATO member. Two, Russia must have authority over the lands that it has occupied. Three, there's going to be no NATO peacekeeping force on the Ukrainian land. And fourth, this economic resurgence that Russia would be looking for after the exhausting conflict is very, very significant that Russia achieves these aims. So the negotiations are tough, the demands are very difficult, a certain maximalist position further complicated by the parallel minerals deal that is taking place between US and Ukraine. So in the midst of all of this diplomatic parlance and parallel engagements, this 30-hour, ceasefire on the occasion of Easter is an important step forward. However, as reports are coming in, as you also mentioned, that it hasn't been an ideal attempt. It hasn't been a perfect ceasefire. It's about 2,000-kilometer long border between Russia and Ukraine, and reports are coming in, especially from the Ukrainian side, that the fighting is going on, particularly in the Kursk region. Past a few weeks, Kursk has been the focus of very intense fighting between Russia and Ukraine. We know that it's part of the Russian territory, which Ukraine had occupied sometime August last year. And past few months, Russia has really fought hard to be able to reclaim Kursk back. And barring a few areas at the border, Russia has been successfully, Russian forces have been able to take Kursk back. So Kursk, north of Kursk, Belgorod, again a Russian region where Ukrainian force had made important inroads. These are places where reports of fighting are coming on. However, it is not as if the ceasefire is not taking place at all. There are several reports coming in that guns have fallen silent after a long time in several parts of the area where the fighting has been going on. An important development that has taken place also is this largest ever prisoner swap that has taken place, Deepika. So over 200 soldiers from either side have been released. That's an important gesture, especially in a moment of conflict when captured soldiers are released. It is seen as an attempt, it is seen as a gesture that cooperation may be possible, although the two sides, the trust deficit is huge. But these gestures, a religious holiday calling for guns to fall silent, these are important steps forward, if not perfect.
And especially when we talk about, the willingness of the US also to reach a deal, a peacemaking deal where both the sides can come to a peaceful conclusion. And now these sort of, as you just mentioned, these sort of movements, these sort of gestures really play a key important role and also sends a different kind of message all across the globe, especially for the people and the stakeholders who are eyeing this current ongoing conflict and are looking forward to a peaceful solution to it. Shubhendu.
Absolutely, because that's a valid point. One gesture like this does send a signal out to the region, to the world, to the adversaries that, peace is possible, ceasefire is possible. One just has to agree to the right condition. One has to look in the right direction. And you mentioned a very important point about the US intervention in these truce talks. Remember, just a couple of days back, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, of course, representing the Trump administration, had said that America was also running out of patience as far as the truce talks are concerned, and that it is not going to be engaging with Russia and Ukraine forever. It says it has made its best effort. However, in the coming days, if ceasefire does not become possible, America is going to withdraw from it, and then Russia and Ukraine can manage it by themselves. So that's an important statement that increases the pressure in many ways on the two adversaries, Russia and Ukraine. Both of them see America as an opportunity, although differently, but both of them see American intervention as an opportunity to achieve peace. Both countries could benefit significantly from peace. 3 years of long, brutal fighting has exhausted the coffers, has exhausted the resources of both the nations. Their economy is on a downward spiral for a long time. Both would look for an end to the conflict, but given that the forces have gone into each other's nations, occupying territories, the complexity of deciding where do you now draw the new border is going to be complex, because that is also the contention and the point that Russia is pushing down on hard. So this warning, in a way, this threat of withdrawal coming in from the United States may have also catalyzed possibilities of two sides trying a little harder to achieve peace. And it seems that this announcement, unilateral although, by Russian President Vladimir Putin, but he's also the one who had disagreed to the unconditional 30-day ceasefire. So this gesture could also be seen as an important messaging that ceasefire, peace deal may be possible. Perhaps some more clarity would be required from both the adversaries.
Indeed. All right. Thank you so much, Shubhendu, for joining us and bringing us a very important analysis of the ongoing ceasefire deal, which is currently taking place from the Russian side.